Talking about the Trinity today, and if you don't know what that is or why it's important, we'll be getting to that shortly. But I've been thinking about science a little bit, and science is broken down into various branches. There's sort of a hierarchy to science. And all science, man, I choked on that cracker and it is still tickling. Excuse me. All science really does follow a handful of protocols that are not unique to any branch of science. That there is a scientific methodology that happens no matter what field of science you're working in, or at least it's supposed to follow. Science is broken down into broad categories of formal sciences. This is things like logic and mathematics, things that are just very proper. You hear people say math is math, right? And that's what we're talking about. Some things are just factually logical and factually mathematic, and other things aren't. From the formal sciences, you get things that are called natural sciences. This is cosmology and geology and physics and chemistry and biology, the things that we usually think of when we think of science. And then we also get social sciences, things like sociology and anthropology, psychology. And from those three, they get broken down even further. But it doesn't matter what part you're in. They all are kind of working together to create what we would call the field of science. And occasionally you'll see this in like a movie that takes place in history, or in a book that takes place at some point in time in history. Early on, we had people who were called doctors, right? And we still have doctors. But when I say doctor to you, you think like somebody who treats you for like medical care. But historically, doctors were people who understood scientific methodology and could apply those methods to lots of different fields of study. So you could be a doctor of philosophy, you could be a doctor of medicine for sure, you could be a doctor of biology, you could be a doctor of mathematics. That it didn't matter, and a doctor would know how to apply their understanding of science to many different fields of study. So it didn't matter if you were a doctor of philosophy. If somebody was having a heart attack, you might be the best person to go help them because you know how to think through the process. Because again, math is math, and if math is math, science is science. So lots of different things, lots of different branches that are all working together to make a cohesive whole. And this is not a perfect analogy for the Trinity. I'm not trying to argue that it is, as we talk about the Trinity in the Scriptures. But it illustrates that as humans, it's in our nature to begin to categorize things and to break them down into other parts in order to understand them. We break things into smaller parts, and in some ways, in observing smaller parts, we're able to then get better understanding for how things work. Now, the word Trinity, at least naturally, only needs to mean a group of three things. So you could say, for example, that the formal sciences, natural sciences, and social sciences, they make up a trinity of science, right? Because that's all that the word Trinity necessarily means. Although when we then come to apply the word Trinity to our Christian faith and to our understanding of who God is, then it's going to take on a different form.